Hey today I'm gonna beat Pokemon Sun with just the Decidueye line, the first in the trio of Alolan starter Pokemon. After realizing how fun it is to do these last time with Komao, I decided to put some more effort in, and maybe you can see that already with the new screen layout. I really like how some other people set up their screens, but I had to make it a little my own, you know? So, since I'm not aware of any live game scraping software for Sun and Moon to get my current stats and moves, I've resorted to just putting in the base stats for now on the side there. If anyone knows what to use in order to get that data live from the game, that would be really cool, but I'm no programmer, so I wouldn't know the first thing about getting that to work. It's not a big deal right now. I also couldn't figure a way to get the move lists to fit on the screen in a readable fashion, so I've just omitted those for now as well. I'll still go over moves when necessary though, so let's go through them. We'll just go over the most useful ones for now. We start with Tackle, Leafage, and Growl, and get Peck soon at level 8, Astonish at 11, which isn't very powerful, but it's nice to have more coverage. Razor Leaf at 15, Pluck at 22, followed by Synthesis, Leaf Blade, and Brave Bird. For some odd reason, the final move it gets is Nasty Plot, while we learn a total of 0 special moves by level up, and the only decent special moves by TM are Energy Ball, Shadow Ball, Hidden Power, and Solar Beam. I suppose you could use it as a special attacker and have decent stab moves, since its special attack is only 7 points lower than its attack, but to not give it any special moves on level up is kinda crazy. Anyway, back to Rowlet. It has an HP stat of 68, 55 in attack and defense, 50 in special attack and special defense, and 42 in speed. Despite the low speed, Rowlet's line is actually the fastest out of all 3 Alolan starter Pokemon, if you don't count Litten and Torracat, since upon evolution Incineroar actually loses a lot of speed. This doesn't help though, since Decidueye has a speed problem throughout the second half of the game, so this run I'm giving it a Jolly Nature to help it outspeed some key threats later on. Hopping into its first battle against Hau, it's no contest since he always picks the starter weak to yours, and so just a couple of Leafages takes down Popplio. After a bit more story happens, we're back to fight him again after gaining a few more levels. This time he has a Pichu, and it can only hit me with a weak Thundershock, as I knock it out with a couple of Leafages. Popplio is up next, but it goes the exact same way as our first battle with him, going down to another couple Leafages. Next up is the Trainer School, with 5 mandatory battles against some weaker trainers. I don't have nearly as much trouble with Rowlet as I did with Jangmo-o, since I have Leafage to take care of the Bonsly the preschooler has. I also grabbed the Quick Claw from the woman downstairs and equip it. The final trainer, Teacher Emily, however, does still take me a few tries. I can 5-shot her Magnemite with Astonish, with a 30% chance to flinch every time I hit, but I still have to dodge getting paralyzed. I did try using Work Up, but it didn't cut down on the number of turns I needed to KO it, and it would just be better to fish for the Astonished flinches anyway. It takes 5 tries for me to get good enough luck. I get a flinch on the first, second, and third turns, only taking 1 Thundershock before KOing the Magnemite. Out comes her Meowth, and although it's faster than me, my Quick Claw activates on both turns, allowing me to dodge the 30% flinch chance from Bite. I definitely could have taken a few Bite flinches and still won, but it's insane how lucky I got in this fight. 3 30% chances to flinch from Astonish, and 2 20% chances for Quick Claw to activate. I guess the game has thrown me a bone for being beat so bad for a while there. I continue on through Hau'oli City, making it down to Elima's fight. He starts with a Yungoos, who leers me a couple times while I'm able to knock it out with a couple of Leafages. Smeargle takes advantage of my half defense with a couple tackles, which honestly is just an awful move to teach your Smeargle, Elima. You could have had any move and you choose tackle? Anyway, Smeargle takes me down to yellow health while I finish it off with a Leafage. If you're wondering why the little Elima icon isn't changing at the bottom of the screen, then hey, you've noticed my little version of a badge tracker, but for Alola. Since there's no gyms in Alola, only trials and kahunas, I'm tracking when I beat them to be able to compare between Pokemon where they each do well or have trouble. That Elima icon isn't for his battle, but for his trial. Funnily enough, he's the only trial captain who battles you before you complete his trial. although you can battle all the other trial captains in different contexts after their trials. It's a short hike up Route 2 to Verdant Cave, inside which Rowlet evolves into Dartrix at level 17. Dartrix gains 10 points in HP and speed, as well as 20 points in every other stat. I only noticed and fixed it in the Totem battle, so let's get into it. All Totem Pokemon start with a stat boost of some sort, and Gumshoe starts with +1 defense. I start off with a workup to boost my attack, while Gumshoe slowers my speed with Scary Face and calls in an ally Yungoos. I'm flinched the next turn with 2 bites, but thankfully I'm able to hit the next turn with Razor Leaf, which is a spread move, one-shotting the Yungoos and dealing about a third to Gumshoes. The next Razor Leaf deals about half its HP, because since Generation 4's spread moves deal 75% damage if they hit multiple Pokemon in a double battle. Gumshoos alone can't finish me off, and so I take it out with a final Razor Leaf. I gain my Normalium Z, but it won't really be used in this run like it was in the Komodo run. I mark my time with the save as soon as I'm able, giving a first split of 1 hour 29 minutes. I don't have a way of comparing to Jangmo-o, but I'll be noting how these times compare to other Stellar runs in the future, when I've got more data to cover. Up on Route 3, I pick up a Sharpbeak, which will be a huge help for the next major battle. I fight Hau again shortly after. Razor Leaf almost one-shots Pikachu, while it lowers my attack with Growl. It gets in a quick attack, only dealing 4 damage. Then I 2-shot Popplio with Razor Leaf, which would have been a one-shot if not for that Growl. Hau is a master tactician trying to slow me down in any way possible. Or something like that. On to Hala. As a grass flying type, this should be relatively simple. Against his Mankey, which sets up a focus energy, my Sharpbeak boosted Peck one-shots. Makuhita's next, and it gets in its iconic fake out for a whole 5 damage, before I leave it with 1 HP from Peck. Hala uses a potion, but it's not enough to save it from another Peck. Out comes Crabrawler, which takes a few hits to take down because, fun fact, all of the major battles in this game are full of Pokemon with maxed out EVs and at least a few perfect IVs. This Crabrawler has 31 IVs in HP, attack, and defense, as well as 252 EVs in HP and defense. Sun and Moon may be easy in terms of incomplete movesets and lower Pokemon count on most teams, but they make up for it by making each individual Pokemon so much stronger. Anyway, Hala is defeated without me losing even a quarter of my HP, and I have only taken 1 hour and 47 minutes in the run so far, about an hour faster than Jangmo-o took with all the grinding it had to do. I stop into 10 Carat Hill to grab the TM for Acrobatics, which can't be learned until I evolve into Decidueye, but it's worth picking up now while I'm nearby. I make a quick stop into the Visitor Center to grab the Shell Belt, and then I'm on a boat to Akala Island. Upon arriving, I'm gifted my first rare candy out of only 12 available before the postgame, not including from Pickup, the lottery in Hau'oli City, and from the Pokemon Center Cafe, which requires feeding your Pokemon Pokebeans, which increases affection and takes extra time, so I'm not really going to do that. I'm usually pretty lax when it comes to newer mechanics in the Pokemon games. I'm not a big hater of much, but the affection mechanic introduced in X and Y feels a bit overpowered to me, and the fact that they permanently combined its effects with that of friendship in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee moving forward feels a bit unnecessary to me. Anyway, I just beat Dexio, who is not at all a problem for Dartrix to deal with. You can lose this battle like you can with Hau, but it'd be a shame to lose out on the large amount of experience you can gain from his Espeon. Speaking of Hau, I fight him again in Paniolo Town, and he still has his Pikachu. Razor Leaf can 2-shot, but at least Pikachu can deal some damage this time. Hau has a Brionne now, but it's still an easy 2-shot with Razor Leaf. It's nice that he heals me up after battle though. I follow him down the road and fight Gladion for the first time. He starts with a Zubat who crits with a wing attack while I work up, dealing about a third of my health. My Peck is able to one-shot next turn, and then he sends out Type Null. We trade Razor Leafs and tackles, but I'm able to 3-shot it before it can take me down to red health. Bricklet Hill is pretty simple for Dartrix, since it can just one-shot both of the Wishiwashi with a single Razor Leaf each. Totem Wishiwashi though is a little harder, who gets a +1 defense boost, just like Gumshoos does. I start off with a Razor Leaf, while it goes for Soak. This is bad because it changes my grass typing to water, removing my resistance to water moves. Alomomola is a tough ally to deal with, since it has a lot of HP, only taking about a quarter from my Razor Leaf, as well as using Helping Hand on the Wishiwashi. I get a lucky crit on Wishiwashi, but Alomomola uses Heal Pulse on it while it Water Guns me. Another Razor Leaf, then Alomomola double slaps for only 3 hits, and I get growled again. Now I'm at -2 attack. This could be bad. Next, the Alomomola Helping Hand's a Water Gun, which deals about a quarter. Another Razor Leaf leaves Alomomola with just a sliver of HP, before it pelts me with a 5-hit double slap, and the totem Water Guns me, leaving me with only 14 HP. Razor Leaf finally finishes off the ally, and leaves the totem with red health. I level up to 24, learning Pluck over Peck, while Wishiwashi finally powers down to its much weaker form. I finish it off with a Pluck, but I probably could have done so with the Razor Leaf, taking out the other Pokemon it summoned as well. I won first try anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. This run I remember to take Lana up on her offer to teleport me back to the start, where I make a quick stop back into the entrance to pick up the rare candy on this island. I'm going to talk about how I route these runs as I make my way back down Route 5 towards the next trial. Due to the way trainers' vision works in Sun and Moon, as well as how much smaller the areas need to be due to them being 3D environments rather than the smaller tile sets like in the Gen 3 and 4 games, there are really not a ton of required trainers I need to face throughout the game. Sure, there are a few who look across the only route forward and are unavoidable, but I'd say the majority in this game are not like that. You can definitely wait most of them out and sneak around them. However, on runs like this one, your Pokemon kind of needs as much experience as they can get. I run through once on my own, noting down what levels I get to at each point in the game, as well as strategies for tougher battles later on. What I found, for Kommo and Decidueye at least, is that you definitely should fight almost every trainer you can, minus a few that have like a single baby Pokemon or a single Caterpie, where fighting a single wild Pokemon would give you more experience. Even still, you're almost required to use every rare candy in order to get a consistent Elite Four run, and even then, I still have to train a little extra. We'll bring that back up later in the run since it will be very apparent. I pick up another 2 rare candies here in Route 6 and in Royal Avenue, and make my way up to Wayla Volcano Park for my next trial. The Fire Trial is probably the hardest one in the first half of the game, due to how it's set up. You've got to beat an Alolan Marowak, which has Cursed Body, so if you make contact and don't KO it, you have a chance to have your move disabled, and then you have to fight a Hiker who has a Magmar with Flame Body, so you also have a chance to be burned here. After these 2 fights, you get no chance to heal before you're thrown right into the Totem Salazzle battle, which I'm guessing most Pokemon in a solo run will have to faint here in order to heal up and come back to try again right from the Salazzle fight. I have very low hopes for grass types like Dartrix to do well in this trial. I equip a Lumberry to Dartrix and use 3 of my rare candies on her to level her up till 30, learning Synthesis over Astonish. Starting the battle again, Salazzle has a +1 special defense bonus, which thankfully won't be a problem. I start off with Pluck, which deals just over half of her HP, eating her Pitaya Berry, which would have boosted her special attack if she reached under a quarter HP. Salandit is called, while I use Synthesis anticipating damage, but instead I am Toxic Poisoned, which the Lumberry heals, and I am taunted, preventing me from using status moves. I'm Toxic'd again, while I go for another Pluck on Salazzle, knocking her out, as Salandit tries to poison me again. I can't just Pluck Salandit due to Torment, and I can't use Synthesis or Work Up due to Taunt, so I have to Razor Leaf for a little damage, while Venoshock deals a huge half of my health. However, one more Pluck takes out Salandit, and I get this trial beaten on my first try? There are so many worse ways this could have gone, but thankfully I think I prepared well enough to take advantage of the one timeline where I had an easy enough path to victory. Thank goodness for subpar enemy AI, I guess. I also noticed that I forgot to update my tracker on the bottom for Lana when I beat her, so I looked back at my recording and estimated it was around the 2-hour 45 mark, with Kiawe very shortly after at 3 hours 1 minute. It's insane to me that a grass type would be able to pull off a time like that, but I guess we'll just have to see in the future how that holds up. On to the next trial in Lush Jungle, Totem Lurantis. I've leveled up to 31 at this point, and I've re-equipped the Sharp Beak to power up my flying type moves. This one shouldn't be very difficult. Lurantis starts the battle with a +2 speed boost, meaning it'll move first every turn. I go for a workup to be safe while it deals a small amount of damage with X-Scissor, while summoning a Trumbeak ally. My pluck almost one-shots Lurantis, while Trumbeak takes out half my health with a critical pluck of its own. Knowing I'm faster than Trumbeak though, I finish off Lurantis after it tries healing with Synthesis, and Trumbeak takes me down to 7 HP with Pluck. I trade a few more turns with it healing with Synthesis to be safe before using Pluck to one-shot it as well. I fly back to Heihei City to visit the Pokemon Center to sell all the items I don't need, amassing a decent amount of money. I've started using repels to make even quicker time through caves and grassy routes, since I'm experimenting now with mostly only using trainer experience for Pokemon who don't have slower growth rates. So far it's done me well. After visiting Kukui's wife again, I make my way through Diglett's Tunnel to Konikoni City, where I pick up a TM for Low Sweep, which surprisingly Decidueye is able to learn. Double Team is also here, but I agree that that move can be kind of boring and overpowered if I have to use it before absolutely necessary at level 100. I didn't need to grab the Eviolite here since I evolve in just a couple levels, but it's probably worth it for now. I make it over to the Ruins of Life where Plumeria is, and she, pretty... My Dartrix seems to be confused as well, and gets knocked down to under half HP before taking out Golbat, then almost being KO'd by Salandit before one-shotting it with Pluck as well. This battle takes me up to level 34, and Dartrix evolves into Decidueye. It loses the Flying type and gains the Ghost type, losing its ground immunity and gaining a whole bevy of new weaknesses that'll be fun to deal with. It does gain its signature move, Spirit Shackle, an 80 base power physical ghost move that traps the opponent in battle, which unfortunately is not very useful, as I don't recall any trainers in this game switching out except for maybe a couple occasions. At least it's a strong stab move that is only resisted by dark types and ineffective versus normal types. I equip a Shell Bell onto Decidueye and then continue on to Kahuna Olivia. Against her Nose Pass, Razor Leaf deals a bit more than half while it paralyzes me with Thunder Wave. Another Razor Leaf knocks it out. Next is Lycanroc, which is faster due to paralysis, letting it flinch with its first bite, which deals about a third. Then, after its next bite, I'm fully paralyzed, and its third bite knocks me out. That brand new dark weakness is already kicking my butt. I switch out the Shell Bell for a Cherry Berry to counter the paralysis, as well as remember to update Decidueye's stats on the overlay. I'll get better at remembering to update it as I go. It's just easier to do it while playing rather than while editing. A lot less work at least. Interesting thing about Decidueye's stats though, is that it does not gain any HP or defense after evolving from Dartrix, but it does gain a whopping 30 special attack and special defense, 18 speed, and 32 attack, leaving it only 3 points behind Kamao's attack. Anyway, I make it back to Olivia, this time KOing her Nose Pass and healing its paralysis with the berry. I'm still slower than Lycanroc and take big damage from its bite, but I dodge the flinch and one-shot it with Razor Leaf. Her Boldore takes about a quarter of my HP with Rock Blast as I two-shot it with Razor Leaf. I didn't expect to have this much trouble with a Rock-type trainer with a Grass type, but I guess that's why she's Kahuna and I'm just a puny 11-year-old. I then waste a couple minutes because I accidentally click on the landmine menu option that is Festival Plaza, which has a short mandatory tutorial that I have to speed through. Guess it would be worth the 5 seconds time loss to move it to the second menu screen rather than accidentally click it mid-run, wasting 10 times as much time. Still though, I'm on a brisk pace with a time so far of just under 4 hours. Not bad. I'm gonna go ahead and skip the Aether Foundation section, since all there is here is a rare candy and an easy fight against the Ultra Beast Nihilego. And Wick. Can't forget about Wick. Can never forget about Wick. Maybe I should keep Aether Paradise in these runs. Don't want to cut out Wick. Anyhow, on the next island I get to fight Hau again. I'm a lot better prepared this time. I've got a Shell Bell on, and his Raichu does about a quarter to me with Psychic, while Spirit Shackle does about $1 to Raichu, thanks to its Psychic typing being weak to Ghost. Next up is Flareon, which Spirit Shackle takes down to red HP, while its Fire Fang deals a little over half of my HP. I finish it off with another Shackle, then Brionne comes out. It has a Water Z crystal at this point in time, so I play it safe and heal with Synthesis, while it deals pitiful damage with Bubble Beam. Razor Leaf is able to two-shot, ending the battle. I stop into the TM shop to get Smackdown, Steel Wing, and Swords Dance, but don't teach any just yet. Here in Melee Garden, I'll show you an example of a skippable trainer. This preschooler has a single Pokemon, a Cleffa. Salad is able to one-shot it with Razor Leaf, only gaining 163 experience. I mean, yeah, it leveled me up, but this Wild Meowth right after gave 226 experience. She's also a preschooler and doesn't give very much money, so they're definitely the types of trainers to avoid if you're going for a faster run. Speaking of trainers to avoid, the next one I can't avoid is Molayne in front of the next trial. He's got steel types, but thankfully, since the previous generation, they don't resist ghost type moves anymore. His first out is Skarmory, and I'm able to deal a little under half HP with Spirit Shackle, while its Air Cutter doesn't do much. I get it to low HP with another, as it misses its attack. I know Molayne is gonna heal here, and I accidentally use Synthesis, thinking I still have something like Work Up or Swords Dance in that slot. Whoops. A couple more Spirit Shackles takes it out. His Dugtrio is next, and it can deal some nasty damage with Sucker Punch. Razor Leaf can two-shot it, but not before a critical Metal Claw takes me down to yellow HP. Thankfully, his last Pokemon, Metang, is one-shot by Spirit Shackle, allowing me into the trial. Sophocles' trial is like the fire trial, where you have to fight a Grubbin and 2 Chargebugs before the totem shows up. Thankfully, they can't deal nearly as much damage to me as Marowak and Magmar can, especially with my Shell Bell healing me up. The totem Vikavolt shows up with a +1 Omni boost, but I just casually critical hit Spirit Shackle it, ending it in one turn. Well, so much for that one. Back in Melee Garden, I fight Guzma for the first time. His lead Golisopod takes a little under half damage from Pluck, while it sets up Swords Dance, allowing me to Pluck again to switch him out due to his ability Emergency Exit. Ariados is next, and Pluck is able to two-shot it, while it takes me down to about a third due to 2 Sucker Punches. Golisopod then has a priority move, First Impression, that almost knocks me out. Thankfully I can just finish him off there, but I probably should have used Synthesis against Ariados to more safely finish the battle. At this point, Kukui gives you a Z Crystal corresponding to your starter Pokemon. Decidueye's crystal upgrades its Spirit Shackle into Sinister Arrow Raid, a 180 base power physical ghost move that cannot miss. While this is quite frankly a ridiculous amount of damage, it is only usable once per battle, and Decidueye isn't able to hold any other items which may be more useful, such as a status curing berry or a type boosting item like Miracle Seed or Spell Tag. For this run, it's mostly just useful against random trainers who have slightly bulkier Pokemon that would otherwise destroy Decidueye. Speaking of destroying Decidueye, let's move on to the next major battle, the Totem Mimikyu. I'm still weak to ghost moves, but at least I'm not 4 times weak like Komo-o was. I'm at level 41 by the time I get to the fight, but it's still not enough. Mimikyu's Shadow Claw deals about 3/4 of my health, and I still have to get through the first turn of breaking its disguise, hoping for it to use Mimic instead to waste a turn. After 3 attempts, I get kind of annoyed at how close I am to leveling up, so I fight a wild Pokemon to get up to 42, just to get a little bit of dopamine in between attempts. I head in to attempt the fight another time. This time, Mimikyu goes for Mimic, thank goodness, letting me use Sinister Air Raid to one-shot it in the next turn after I'm taken down to yellow HP. I should have paid attention to the moves the Ally Haunter can have since it does have Sucker Punch, but thankfully it's too weak to take me out, and one more Spirit Shackle KOs it as well, giving me the win on the 4th total attempt. Much better than Komo-o's 20 or so. Afterward, I'm given the Ghost Sea Crystal, which is kinda funny since it would make Spirit Shackle 20 less base power than Decidueye's signature Z move, so that's going right in the garbage. Speaking of garbage, I'm soon able to replace Razor Leaf with a much better move, Leaf Blade. I don't know why this Pokemon line takes so long between attacking grass moves. Level 15 is Rowlet for Razor Leaf, then 29 levels later Decidueye learns Leaf Blade. I guess the focus is more on its ghost typing in this game. Anyway, next up is a bunch of Team Skull, so we'll skip ahead to its leader Guzma, who for some reason still only has his 2 Pokemon. Golisopod uses First Impression to deal a little under half my HP, while I go for the big guns and one-shot Golisopod with Arrow Raid. Ariados takes out another third of my health while I almost one-shot it with Pluck, so to be safe I go for Synthesis, making it fail another Sucker Punch before I finish it off next turn. I probably should have just gone for Spirit Shackle, since I think that would have dealt enough damage due to Stab to one-shot. It's the old super effective trap, instead of using what's actually strongest. Would be nice to be able to see my effective move power live, but it doesn't take a ton of head math to figure it out on the fly. After this would normally be when I head back to Aether House to fight Gladion, but I'm in need of a little extra training first. I'm lucky that I haven't had to train on any wild Pokemon so far compared to Kommo-o, but I do need to hit 106 speed to outspeed a certain Pokemon in a fight soon. I only knock out a couple Pokemon to get close to leveling up, then I head back to Aether House to fight the losable Gladion battle. He starts off with Golbat, which I one-shot with Arrow Raid. Sneasel gets in a strong feint attack, but goes down to one strong Leaf Blade. Type Null takes a little over half its HP from my Leaf Blade, and it deals a small amount with Pursuit. One more Leaf Blade seals it, leveling me up to 47 and bumping my speed stat up to that 106 number that I mentioned, and here's the one it's required for. For Nanu, I equipped the Grass Seed Crystal instead of Decidueye's signature one. I had the most trouble with this fight in my research run, and you can see why. Sableye is able to deal a little under half with Shadow Claw, and I only one-shot it sometimes with Leaf Blade. I mistime my Synthesis heal, and take a Shadow Claw leading into Krokorok. This Krokorok has Crunch and 105 speed. This is who I need to outspeed in order to one-shot and not take damage from. Nanu's Ace Persian has a strong Z-Dark move that can KO me from around 80% HP. Because of my misplay, I faint and I have to try again. This time I'll make sure to get my moves right. This time, Sableye goes down with my first Leaf Blade, as well as Krokorok. Persian's Z-move takes me down to red health, but my Grass Z-move is able to one-shot it back, cinching the win. In my research run, I had to blackout train against him up until around level 51 before I could outspeed and beat him. This is the fight that made me realize I need to give Decidueye a speed-boosting nature. That and one other fight at the very end of the game. On the Aether Paradise revisit, there are a lot of trainers, but almost none that really necessitate me to cover their battles. The only one besides the team leaders would be the double battle with Faba and a Grunt. Spirit Shackle gets Slowbro to red HP, while Raichu's Electro Ball one-shots Ledian. Raichu finishes off Slowbro, then one-shot crits Bruxish. We're able to knock out the Hypno together, but Spirit Shackle probably would have done it on its own anyway. I've taught Acrobatics and removed Decidueye's item to make it a 110 base power move, by the way. It's useful for extra coverage against the variety of trainers in this area. It won't stick around long. Right after this is the final fight with Guzma, this time actually rocking an alright team. Acrobatics takes Golisopod down to red health, instantly switching it out for Masquerain. It goes down in one hit from Acrobatics. Then the Ariados deals decent damage with Sucker Punch. I'm on top of it this time, healing with Synthesis before knocking it out. Good thing too, because Golisopod comes back in and almost knocks me out with First Impression, and then I knock it out. Last up is Pinsir, and I'm not super familiar with its moves, so I use 3 of my Synthesis PP, while it deals decent chunks with X-Scissor. Good thing too, because Acrobatics only takes it down to red health, while it takes me down to red health too. I'm faster though, so I finish it off without having to heal anymore. Before continuing on to Lusamine, I teach Steel Wing over Acrobatics and re-equip my Grass Seed Crystal. Remember, this is a losable battle, but I definitely want all the trainer experience I can get, so it's best to go in fully prepared. Against her Clefable, I start with a super effective Steel Wing, taking it down to a third. It goes for Metronome, giving it Hidden Power Dark due to its Ivies. Steel Wing finishes it off next turn. Miss Magus comes in and takes me to half HP with Mystical Fire, before I one-shot it with Spirit Shackle. Lilligant confuses me with Teeter Dance, while Spirit Shackle takes it down to red HP. Lilligant starts using Petal Dance while I hit myself in confusion, scaring me as I reach red HP myself. I'm actually speed tied at 117 speed with Lilligant, and I'm able to win that 50-50 as well as use Synthesis through my confusion, while Petal Dance deals another big hit that would have KO'd me if I were less lucky. I get another Speed Tie win and Synthesis again through Confusion. And I snap out of Confusion next turn to get another Speed Tie win and knock out Lilligant. Milotic is next, easy one-shot with Leaf Blade. Beware here, literally cannot hit Decidueye, since it only has Hammer Arm, a fighting move, and Takedown, a normal move, as well as Baby Doll Eyes, which cuts attack. And yes, I am saving my Z move for it literally just to save as much time as possible, since it'll tank my attack and its fluffy ability cuts physical moves even more. It's definitely worth it, and I actually win this optional Lucamine battle. Oh hey, and there's Wicked! The last Kahuna battle is Hapu, and thankfully it should be pretty easy due to Grass type being super effective versus Ground and Grass resisting Ground. I've re-equipped Decidueye's Z Crystal for this one. Dugtrio is out first, and it takes me down to half HP with Sucker Punch as I one-shot it with Leaf Blade. Next up, Flygon uses Dragon Breath, and I'm lucky to dodge the potential paralysis. I use Arrow Raid against it for no real reason, one-shotting it. Mudsdale comes out, and I'm a little worried, so I use Synthesis, and my worry is justified, since its Heavy Slam would have KO'd me. I Synthesis again, but Mudsdale uses a much weaker Earthquake. I Leaf Blade, taking it down to yellow health, as it uses another Earthquake. I then finish it off with another Leaf Blade. Last is Gastrodon. You know what happens when a Water Ground type touches grass. After this fight, I teach Swords Dance over Steel Wing for a tough required fight right ahead. This veteran is one of the few required fights I talked about earlier after Lana's trial. He's got a Torkoal which sets up Sun, and an Arcanine too. I'm not able to one-shot Torkoal with anything, not even Arrow Raid, so I have to use Swords Dance, then Arrow Raid, then Spirit Shackle Arcanine after. I get the KO and Torkoal here, but the Arcanine comes in to intimidate me back down to +1 attack. It just barely lives a Spirit Shackle, knocking me out with Fire Fang. After 3 attempts, I'm very close to leveling up, so I just knock out a Dugtrio right near him in the cave, getting me to 55. I can learn Brave Bird here, which I ignore, but I will be remembering it later for the Elite Four. After leveling up, I'm strong enough to be able to one-shot both the Torkoal and the Arcanine, although I'm sure it might have just been bad damage range luck beforehand for Arcanine. There's no other particularly challenging battles before the last trial, so let's get right to it. I make it to the Totem Komao, which starts with a +1 Omni Boost. I lead with a Swords Dance, expecting the Komao to protect my Z move. It doesn't, it just attacks, so I go for the Synthesis, hoping it'll protect. Nope, it just attacks. Okay, maybe its AI is being funny. I go for Arrow Raid, and it protects! It takes off over half its HP, but I swear this Totem Pokemon cheats to protect against Z moves. Whatever. Another Spirit Shackle takes out the Komao while the Hakamo uses its workup, and I take it out with another Spirit Shackle. I'm not mad, I swear, I promise. Let's just jump ahead to the last Lucamine fight. I teach Energy Ball over Synthesis, which is actually a mistake. In my notes I say to teach Steel Wing for Clefable, but I was only glancing at my notes and taught the wrong move. Oh well. Anyhow, I start out with the Swords Dance, while her Clefable goes for Metronome for some reason, pulling Seed Bomb and dealing a massive 10 damage. I go for another Swords Dance for safety, and Clefable Moonblasts, taking about 1/5 of my health. Leaf Blade is then able to one-shot it. Miss Magus comes in and crits with Power Gem, taking me to just under half. Spirit Shackle one-shots. Next, Lilligant. It goes for Petal Dance, dealing a lot more than I expected it to, but it does have a +1 special attack boost, so I should have known. Next is Milotic, and I outspeed, so a Leaf Blade one-shots. Last is Beware, who again can't actually hurt me. It actually heals me with Pain Split as I two-shot with Energy Ball. Glad to have beaten her first try at least. Well, next up is another fight that required my speed-boosting nature. Gladion at the base of Mount Lanakila is another trainer with a bunch of fast Pokemon with super effective moves, so I had to outspeed in order to safely take care of him. In my research run, I did have to take a few shots at him before resorting to using rare candies. I level up to 60 in Vast Pony Canyon to make the most use of my 9 rare candies, not wasting any experience. I end up at level 69, at which point I outspeed all his Pokemon except his Crobat. I equip my Shell Bell and step up to fight. First is his Crobat, which deals almost half my HP while I set up Swords Dance. It takes me down to red health next turn as I one-shot it with Spirit Shackle. Fire-type Silvally is next, but it also goes down in 1 Spirit Shackle. Weavile's up next, also goes down to a Shackle. Lucario is last, and guess what? Shackle. Can you believe I was actually having problems with this fight in my research run? Crazy. Last fight before I get to the league is the last How fight, and remember, this one is mandatory to win. I visit the move reminder in the Pokemon Center to teach Brave Bird over Energy Ball and head over to fight How. Raichu isn't very strong at this point, so I'm able to set up a Swords Dance as its Psychic deals less than a quarter of my health. A Spirit Shackle one-shots, and then it one-shots his following Flareon. Kamala surprises me with a Sucker Punch, but I'm still alive with yellow health as I KO it with Leaf Blade. Primarina follows with the same fate, and that's it! I'm finally to the Elite Four. If only it were this easy. Starting off with Acerola this time. I equip a Person Berry to take care of confusion and head right on in. Against her Sableye, I start with a Swords Dance as it tries to confuse me, but my Person Berry heals that. Leaf Blade is then able to one-shot, then Frostlass comes out. It's faster and gets in a Blizzard, but it deals less than half HP, and I one-shot with Spirit Shackle. Delmise also falls to a Spirit Shackle. Palisand, KO'd by a Leaf Blade. Driftblim is also taken out by Spirit Shackle, and it can't even deal aftermath damage because Spirit Shackle doesn't make contact. Not bad. Next is Olivia. Same moves, but this time I equip a Lumberry since she can either put me to sleep or paralyze. She starts out with Relicanth, who goes for Yawn as I set up a Swords Dance. Leaf Blade one-shots, and my berry removes sleep at the end of the turn. Next is Lycanroc, who also falls to Leaf Blade, as well as the next up Carbink. Probopass has Sturdy, so survives while paralyzing me. I go back and forth with Olivia's full restores, but eventually knock it out. Same thing with Golem, but none of them could really do much to Decidueye. The two easier battles are done. Next up is Hala, who you'd think would be easy since Ghost type is immune to fighting moves. However, Hala has some decent coverage, including a lot of dark moves and an ice move that will always one-shot me. I teach Energy Ball over Swords Dance and equip the Shell Bell since I'll be using Brave Bird. Against Hariyama, I just start off with a one-shot Brave Bird, which thankfully deals its recoil before Shell Bell heals some of it back. Next is Crabominable, which is not a guaranteed one-shot with Brave Bird, but luckily it does happen this time. I'm down to a little over half HP room recoil. Next is Primeape, who goes down to a single Leaf Blade. Beware is next, who has Fluffy, and so I use Energy Ball. Its Brutal Swing deals about a quarter to me, as Hala heals and I go for more Energy Ball to knock it out. Last up is Poliwrath, which thankfully also goes down in a single Leaf Blade. Finally, Kahili. I teach Smackdown over Brave Bird and reteach Swords Dance over Energy Ball. Gotta love Gen 5 plus reusable TMs. I also equip another Person Berry. Against her Skarmory, I'm able to Swords Dance once, as Steel Wing takes about a fifth of my health. I go for Spirit Shackle to get it down to 1 HP with Sturdy, and it misses a Steel Wing thankfully. A couple more Spirit Shackles takes it out. Next is Mandibuzz, who I take to under half with Smackdown, while it uses Flatter to confuse me, which is what the berry was for. Another Smackdown takes it out. Toucannon falls to a single Smackdown as well. Crobat misses its Supersonic against me to fall to a Smackdown, as well as the final Oricorio. Just the champion left. Now, I am about 4 levels lower than I was in my research run, and a couple Pokemon here required a % chance to one-shot, otherwise I would lose the battle. I'll tell you in a second about that. In the meantime, I teach Low Sweep over Spirit Shackle, since that move won't have any more use. I also equipped the Shell Bell, but I forgot to update the graphic. Now, going into battle, I face Kukui's Lycanroc. I have to set up one Swords Dance, which I'm able to do as it deals a little under half my HP with Crunch. It's faster, so it gets one more Crunch in before I one-shot it with Leaf Blade. Next is Braviary. At this level, Smackdown only has about a 6% chance to KO. It doesn't, and so I fall to Braviary. In my research run, it was a 50-50 shot. At this point in the run, I'm tired, it's getting late, I just want to get the run over with, so I try the battle over and over. About 15 times, hoping for that 6% chance, but I never get it. I realize at this point I should probably just black out and go through the Elite Four again, gain a couple more levels, and come back for better luck. I've already got the strategies down pat for them. It would only take another maybe 10 minutes in game time, and so I do. Funny thing, I wouldn't have gotten this Acerola clip if I kept bashing my head against the Braviary wall. Her Frostlass actually freezes me with Blizzard, but then misses its next Blizzard as I thaw out and KO it anyway. I think this was the RNG telling me it'll actually work out this time. Anyway, I clear through the Elite Four again, no problems this time, especially since I'm a little higher level than I was the last time I cleared them. Back at Kukui, I'm 2 levels higher this time. I get my sword stance set up against Lycanroc and KO it with Leaf Blade, leaving me at low HP with my Shell Bell. Braviary comes in, and now I have a 43% chance to one-shot. And I hit it! The rest is smooth sailing. Incineroar is next, which is an almost guaranteed one-shot from low sweep. Ninetales uses Safeguard for some reason, and falls to 1 Leaf Blade. Snorlax also falls to 1 Leaf Blade. Magnezone is last. I know it has Sturdy and Thunder Wave, and I want to minimize the number of turns I have to gamble on Paralysis, so I go for Leaf Blade to take it to half in order to not have Kukui full restore it, and then the next turn, Low Sweep connects through Paralysis, and I take the win. I was fuming at this point. I was kind of just relieved to have finally finished the dang thing. But it's done! Decidueye has beaten Pokemon Sun entirely on its own. I'm going to edit in the final time here so we don't have to wait past the credits to see it, but I got through this in 10 hours and 9 minutes. I'm honestly kind of surprised it finished over 3 hours faster than this generation's pseudo-legendary Kommo-o. But I'm thinking maybe it's a combination of Kommo-o being my first run of this game and me being kind of inexperienced, as well as the sheer amount of grinding I had to do with it in the early game due to its slow experience rate. It's also interesting to me how differently they played. Kommo-o tended to use a lot of different Z-Crystals, while Decidueye mostly used either its signature Z-Crystal or Shell Bell the whole run. I guess Kommo-o could take a few more hits due to its much higher defensive stats, and so could rely on Overwhelming Force. Dragon Dance helped too without speeding and hitting harder. Anyhow, now that I finished up with Decidueye, next up is Incineroar, the Fire Dark type starter. I've actually never used it before, so I have no idea how it's going to do, but it'll be fun anyway. If you made it this far, wow, you're pretty awesome. Thanks for watching, and let me know what kind of Pokemon you'd want me to play through later. I've already got the next few selected, but once I start dipping into previous generations, there's just so many options that I can't choose myself. Anyway, it's 5 AM when I'm writing the script, so I've got to go to bed. Stay safe out there.